What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about Aglaea and whether you should be preparing to pull for her E1 or her S1, if any of the two. And towards the end of the video, I will give you some extra Litecoin recommendations just in case you are going to go for the E1 or you're just going to leave her E0 as 0, just so I don't leave you guys wondering which Litecoin to actually aim for. As always, if you enjoy this type of content, let me know by liking the video, leaving a comment in the comment section below, and consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps a lot. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. Starting over with her S1, and obviously this is going to be her best in slot Litecoin. It gives you 12 speed, which is pretty much her main stat that you want to aim for, and it also gives you 54% crit damage and 54% damage dealt on basic attack damage. Now, I really would have liked if this Litecoin just did a 54% just straight up damage bonus, because she does have an ultimate that she kind of relies on, even though most of her attacks are pretty much basic attacks. Nonetheless, it's a really good stat stick. It doesn't really change how she plays, except that, you know, you get an extra 12 speed that you normally would not be able to get via other means. So it's a really strong Litecoin, very basic Litecoin, but very efficient for Aglaea. Now, when we talk about her E1, that's a little bit different, because her E1 is kind of insane when you really think about everything that it's doing. It seems very basic in surface, but it's actually very strong. The enemy afflicted with Seam Stitch, which is her kind of like her mark. It takes a 15% increased damage, and this actually counts as a vulnerability. So this by itself increases damage by 15% off rip. And then after Aglaea or the garment attacks the target, additionally regains 20 energy. This means, essentially, in a nutshell, without going deep into the math or doing a big explanation on how it happens, this pretty much triples her energy recharge, making it to where you don't need an energy recharge rope. You really don't need to run Huohuo, which is going to be her primary best in slot sustained because of the energy gain. The E1 makes it to where you don't need to run that, because you kind of essentially triple your energy gain, because every single time that either she or the garment maker attacks, you gain an extra 20 energy. So that in of itself makes it incredibly valuable for Aglaea herself. That energy, like I'm telling you, it's so good. It pretty much gives you 100% uptime without having to run an energy recharge rope or a Huohuo, which is kind of insane. Moving on to the math portion of the video, and this is where I want to shout out Low Priority over at Discord. He actually helped me out with the Aglaea spreadsheet and the numbers, because calculating Aglaea is kind of like it's really hard when you do it by yourself without an actual simulation, because your speed vary so much and damage varies so often that it's just really tough to not do it without a simulation. So shout out to Low Priority in the Discord for helping me out with this. But as we can see, the S1 time moving into gold is about a 15 or 16% increase in damage. And if you know anything about the vulnerability debuff, which is something that we have discussed extensively on the channel, the first part of the E1 already gives you 15% damage increase. So this, like the E1 is already beating the S1 just by numbers, just by raw numbers, without taking into consideration the extra energy you're getting from the E1 as well. But we're still going to go into it. The S1 gives you about 15% extra or 16% extra damage overall. And then we go down here to the E1. The E1 actually gives you about 64 or 65% extra damage when you take into consideration the energy gain, because that allows you to stay in your mode pretty much the entirety of the time. And for Aglaea, that is the most important thing. That is why if you're E0 S0 or E0 S1, you are going to want to run Huohuo and Sunday with her so she can keep up with the energy requirements. I will go in depth in the video next week when I release my Aglaea full pre-release guide, but for now, just know that the E1 actually provides about a 70% increase in damage, which is single-handedly the greatest damage increase that you can possibly get for your Aglaea. So if you are going to heavily invest in your Aglaea, I recommend just getting the E1. It's about a 65% damage bonus or damage increase overall when compared to everything else. Not even the E6 gives you that much damage amplification going from one step to the next, obviously. So the E1 is one of the best E1s that we have seen so far. And yeah, if you are going to vertically invest and you're in between E1 or S1, please get the E1. It's way more damage. You're going to feel way more comfortable running your Aglaea. It's going to be fantastic. Now, if you are going to go for the E1 or you're going to remain E0, the Litecoin situation is actually not that bad, considering that all of these Litecoins are pretty much brand new and we have access to about 2 or 3 of them at the moment. So obviously her S1 is going to be the best in slot if you can get it. Sweat Now Cry Less is the S5 of the Battle Pass Litecoin for the Remembrance Path. I think it's available now. I don't know if it is, but if it is, you can pick up the first copy, like pretty much in this Battle Pass, and then keep upgrading it. Just having it S2 is better than her base Litecoin, which is the 3-star Reminiscence at S5, which is actually a really good Litecoin. at S5, which is pretty easy to get to. At max efficiency, you're going to be able to get 48% damage bonus from a 3-star light cone, which is actually very, very good. If you are running your Aglaea at max capacity or max efficiency, your memo sprite should be on board or on the field at all times, which means that after a few attacks, you are going to have a 48% damage bonus ready to go, locked and loaded 100% of the time. Now, Sweat Now, Cry Less, as I said before, is the Battle Pass light cone for the Remembrance Path. If you can pick it up, it's way cheaper than the S1, and then you can use the funds to get the E1, and then you should be good to go. Your Aglaea is going to pop off. Victory in a Blink is another one. Unfortunately, you can't really use this light cone that much. All you're getting from this is 24% crit damage at S5, which is kind of laughable. So I would just focus on Sweat Now, Cry Less if you can get the Battle Pass light cone, or on the 3-star Reminiscence light cone, which if you have pulled in any light cone banners as of recently, you should have at least a copy or 2 of it, and it's actually a really, really strong light cone on Aglaea. Now, as I said before, we are getting a Herta Shop light cone that I will put in the screen somewhere, and it's actually a very strong light cone. I think it's going to be better than the Reminiscence light cone for at least a little bit. I think it's going to be around the realm of Sweat Now, Cry Less, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. Not too sure. I haven't done the math quite yet, but that one is also going to be free at S5, gives you 12% speed and give you some damage bonus, given that you use your skill every 3 turns. Start to wrap things up, guys. The E1 is way miles ahead better than the S1 for Aglaea. So if you're going to go for a vertical investment on your Aglaea, then obviously the E1 is going to be the one to go for. The S1 is actually not that worth if you're only getting a 15% increase overall over their free-to-play counterpart. So I would just run it with the 3-star light cone, or if you can get the Battle Pass or the Herta Shop light cone later on in the future, then that'll be much better investment. Let me know what you guys think about Aglaea. Are you going to be pulling for her? Are you going to be pulling for the E1? Put it all in the comment section below, and until next time, guys, see ya.